Hello, if you find yourself here, then you're probably trying to learn Spring MVC, so let's jump into it. Up in the upper left corner of the Spring Source Tool Suite, the official IDE, there's a button that says Spring Project. You can choose that, but it creates an empty project for us, and we don't want something totally empty. We want something reasonably set up, so choose Spring Template Project. And usually we'll go with Spring MVC Project. The first time you load that up, it's going to start a download for that template, but since I've already downloaded it, you see the green arrow's gone. And we have other options here, but Spring MVC Project is the most vanilla option that we can go with right now, so hit next. And we'll give it a name, first lesson, and give it a package name. I like to start it off with com, and then the app's name, first lesson, and with the suffix of source, and hit finish. You see that Spring created a project first, so let's just right click run as run on server just to compile it for the first time. Now we have a home page up and running, and very quickly let's see where everything is file wise. So in the source main, Java is the main package which contains a home controller which loads this home.jsp up. Let's see where home.jsp is. It's in the main web app. Web app is the root of the web project, and webinf is second in command. And resources contains the images and CSS files and JS files and what have you. And the views contain the home.jsp, and we'll see why. In most web framework applications, web.xml is the first thing that the application sees, and all the other XML configurations branch out of web.xml. So we see that the main servlet, the dispatcher servlet, is called app servlet, and it's contained in Spring app servlet, and it's given the location and name servlet context. So we'll open that up, and we see that our view resolver, internal resource view resolver, is it tells the application to look in webinf and then views for our JSP files, and look inside views for any files ending with .jsp. So our home controller here returned a view name named home, so it knows to look inside views for a file named home that ends with .jsp and loads that up. You see the contents here that says hello world. The time on the server is server time, and our homepage says hello world. The time on the server is whatever. And let's look at the home controller real fast. Alright, so this is an annotation. If you've done Java programming, then you've seen annotations, but other languages it's kind of rare, kind of like in C++. I've only seen annotations in Qt, GUI. But let's break this down, because we don't need the extra code like logger and locale class for our purposes right now. So let's reconstruct our own first method. So it's going to be a public method. It's going to return a string, like before when I returned the word home as the view name. And you can name this method anything. So to prove that, we'll name it bloop. And you don't have to have a argument, but usually control methods have a model. So we'll return the same home page that it had before we deleted it. Okay, here's the problem. There's something called handler mapping, and basically that's when a person types into their URL. For example, our app name is first lesson, so it's going to have that. And then a person types in index.htm. So that index.htm is the word that the application is going to take to try to match it up with one of the methods inside this controller here. So the most usual way to do that is give it the annotation request mapping, and then the value is going to contain the string that it's going to try to match up with. So in this case, we picked index.htm. So now whenever the person types in /first lesson/index.htm, it's gonna pick this controller method and return the view named home, which is the home.jsp. So let's save that and right click, run as. We'll see when it loads up. It tries to load the old page, which is just a slash. And we'll type in the new page, index.htm. And the HTML is meaningless. It's just part of the string name. And hit go. And now we have the same home page shown again. But this time, since we took out the locale class, it no longer shows the time. It just says the time on the server is, which says right here the time on the server is. So we see that it comes out of home.jsp. And optionally, if you're familiar with HTTP protocols, you could specify the request method is get, since this is a request method. In case in your class you have more than one method, and with similar path values, and you want them to do different things, like you want one to do post, you want the other to do put. So let's look at how that works real quick. We'll just copy and paste this just once, and at the end of this we'll put 2. For the first one, we'll put 1. Both of them are gets. And let's name this boot2. And let's give this home to. So now we'll see our controller doing 2 things. It has 2 methods in it. So let's copy our old home, paste it in there once more, and name it home2.jsp. And inside, we'll specify that this is number 2. Just to see that Spring really does recognize different controllers and leads you to different pages. Go ahead and run as to refresh everything. Right, so index.htm, 1 should go to the old page, and 2 should go to the new one. This is number 2, which goes into home2.jsp because we specified home2, and it looks in the views folder for home2.jsp. Pretty simple. And now we want some input. We want the person to be able to pass things in to the URL. Kind of like the old days where you have the question mark and then you have hash key and then you have the hash value, which let's say is a random value of 50. So if a person goes to index.htm question mark milk equals 50, we want the page to show that value. So the way we do that is inside of the argument parameter, first we'll specify a value named milk, and then we'll give it the annotation, the special magic formula, request param, and we'll import that. Then we'll save it and go to home.jsp. And fix the header that says the value the user inputted is, and then we'll use Spring's expression language, which is a $sign and 2 curly brackets, and type in the value milk value, which we'll define right now. now we can put the model to good use. So we'll take this model up here and call dot add attribute and give it the name we just put into the home.jsp, milk value. It can be any name. And the value we want to put in is milk from here. Give that a save. And just go ahead and delete the 1 from that path. Alright. Let's run as again. So now when we type in that URL we were talking about, it should display the 50 index.htm question mark milk equals let's do QWERTY and then 50. The value the user inputted is QWERTY 50, and that's the old way to pass in values. Let's look at the RESTful way now, because REST is sort of the new popular culture or tradition to pass in values. And let's say in the old days we said things like list milk. We gave it commands like that. List milk equals true. And in English class we learned that list is a verb. Well, it can be a verb if you use it as a verb. So it's telling the application to list milk. And REST does things sort of in the way of nouns. So instead of list milk equals true, it's gonna look like milk milk 50 or whatever. So now we just have the noun milk and pass in the value 50, and we'll see how to do that. Instead of request param, we're going to have path variable. Alright, and then we'll import that. Okay, and additionally, now that we have REST, go to the path index.htm/milk, and then we have the value, and we're going to indicate that where the value is. So the value is going to be inside the curly brackets, and it's going to be named milk, the same name as the string milk, which is going to be passed in here. So let's see how that works. Save it. Alright, so now we type in index.htm/milk, the fixed name, and then the value, which is 70. So we see it just looks different and has a little bit of a difference, but you see here this is the RESTful way as opposed to the old traditional way. So let's have a before and after look, shall we? So I'm going to paste the RESTful way down here. And then I'm going to just cut this out for now and backtrack back to the old request param way. Okay. And repaste this. So up here you see that this is old request param way, and you see here that request param accepts the value like question mark elephant size equals 99, and the old way basically that's what it looks like, question mark and then the hash value, the hash key, and then the hash value. And if you have additional parameters, you put the ampersand sign, and milk equals 87, and it just keeps going on like that. But the REST way looks more like elephant size uh, 99, and then milk 87. So you can see that the values are more built into the path, and hence we call it the path variables. And up here, basically we have hash keys and hash parameters or hash values, so we call it request param. So that's pretty self-explanatory. So we'll see you in the next lesson, and thanks for watching this first tutorial.